Radio Leicester. Now, it is, of course, 100 years since many women got the vote, and to mark that historic occasion, a brand new exhibition is opening in Leicester this weekend. It charts the history of the campaign, showcasing artefacts belonging to the city's famous suffragette, Alice Hawkins. Now, amongst the stories being told is that of Princess Sophia Duleep Singh, the daughter of the last Maharaja of the Sikh Empire. Well, Gurinder Singh Mann is from the Sikh Museum Initiative and is with me in the studio now. Thanks for coming in, first of all.
Yeah, thank you.
This is an incredible story. We know an awful lot about Alice, don't we? And it's important that we get the full name. We know very little about Princess Sophia Duleep Singh.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been really great to be involved with the exhibition here at the Newark Museum as well. So rightly so, in terms of what Sophia Duleep Singh represents, we've got everything in there. We've got things like talking about empire, you know, she was like a princess. She's talking about women's rights. She's talking about Indian independence. You know, there's everything you can think of in a story you can actually see in the life of Sophia Duleep Singh.
Why do we know so little about her?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One was the fact that you know, she's of mixed race in a sense as well. And whilst she's probably not talked in the same vein as, say, like, you know, prominent suffragettes like Emily Pankhurst, for instance, and, you know, some of the other suffragists as well. And, you know, unfortunately, her name has just kind of been neglected throughout the ages, really, and which is a shame, really, because she was really, really there at the forefront of the suffragette movement. And, you know, she was there on the, you know, Black Friday March, for instance, right there with Emily Pankhurst, for instance. And, you know, and one of her main things was, you know, to not pay her taxes. So the Women's Tax Resistance League was one of her, where she got the joining, actually, and this newfound kind of idea of actually, you know, of rebelling against the state, essentially.
What were those royal connections then? Where did the princess title come from?
So essentially, she was the granddaughter of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who actually had carved out the Sikh Empire, you know, at the turn of the 1800s, really. And then essentially, her father was Maharaja Duleep Singh. Now, Maharaja Duleep Singh was like a product of the Anglo-Sikh Wars, essentially. And what had happened was, when the British had actually taken over the Punjab, Duleep Singh was actually essentially abducted and brought to the UK. So Duleep Singh lived like a Maharaja in Elvedon, okay, in Thetford. Yeah. And you know, and he had 6 daughters, and Sophia Duleep Singh was one of his daughters.
So this was Maharaja living on the Norfolk-Suffolk border with his daughter. So how did she get involved in the suffragette movement?
Absolutely. This is a fascinating thing about it. I mean, she actually lived eventually in Hampton Court Palace, which was in London, but she took a couple of trips to India, and she actually noticed a couple of things like poverty, racism, and, you know, just this idea of trying to help people was something that sparked her mind when she actually went to India. And when she came back, it was this reason where she actually started, you know, on this course of actually, you know, resisting and, you know, not paying her taxes, essentially, which was the first aim of her life, which carried on into the suffragette movement.
And she was at the front line of all this, along with some of the names we've already mentioned as well. Yeah. And, you know, it's really important that we tell her story, and that's one of the things this exhibition does.
Absolutely. I mean, whilst the exhibition is based around, like we said, Alex Hawkins, and it's called Alex Hawkins and the Votes for Women, what we did as a Sikh Museum Initiative was to actually, you know, speak to the museum, say, let's try and incorporate the story of Sophia Duleep Singh as well. So essentially, when you do come to the exhibition, you'll be able to see, I mean, the idea that you know, a stamp was actually made earlier on this year to commemorate you know, the Votes for Women, and she was put on the stamp as well in February. But also you'll be able to see a PowerPoint presentation which is like running throughout the course of the duration of the exhibition, which actually tells you the life, and there's some really, really interesting things we've culled together that explains, you know, what her role was in this actual movement.
And where did you get all this from? Where did all the information come from?
Essentially, a number of people, a number of collections. One of a good friend of mine's name is Peter Bance. He actually wrote a book on the history of the Duleep Singhs and you know, and the family. So we were able to cull, you know, a number of items from him as well, essentially. And we are looking at bringing him down as part of this exhibition to do a lecture, possibly towards the end of the exhibition, which is towards February time next year.
You were also at an event on Tuesday, I think, telling her story. What was the reaction?
That was absolutely fantastic, because throughout the UK we've had this suffragette flag which has been going throughout the civil service, and they decided and offered if they could bring it down to the Sikh temple at Guru Tegh Bahadur on East Park Road. And we had people from the festival and events team and people from the HM Land Registry as well, and it was like this question and answers. But what we found wonderful was that the children were asking some really fabulous questions, not just on Sophia Duleep Singh, but also about the suffragette movement and, you know, how things were at that particular time. So all in all, it was an absolutely great event. It was great for everybody involved. And, you know, we'd like to thank the Sikh Temple to actually, you know, to have, you know, provide the resources to do that.
Is it across the board that, you know, people know little about her story, or is it, do more people in the Asian community or specifically in the Sikh community know more about her?
I would say the kind of ignorance, in a sense, is throughout, basically, because even the event we had on earlier on in the week, you could tell that many people just didn't know, basically. The you know, the history of Maharaja, you know, Ranjit Singh, everyone knows. Duleep Singh to some extent. Then when we get to Sophia Duleep Singh, it just kind of, you know, goes down, basically. So we're trying to kind of prop her up in a sense and, you know, give her that limelight which she actually deserves, really, throughout various projects we're doing. And later on, as we're also working on the first world's online Sikh Museum as well. And luckily for us, we've been given some access through a private collection of some of our items, and we're creating this in 3D as well, so which we'll be able to show to the public next year sometime.
Well, congratulations on that, bringing this story to light. I know you're off to a launch in about 40 minutes or so, so I hope that goes well. And that exhibition opens at the New Walk Gallery this weekend.
That's correct.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's 4:45 now.